We are starting our new unit on transformations. During this video, I want you to take some notes of some vocabulary terms that you will need to know throughout this unit. So go ahead and open up your spiral to a blank sheet. Write down chapter 8. And the first definition we are going to be putting in our spiral is the definition of transformations. Before I give you the math definition of a transformation, let's think about it in real world sense. So if I say transformation, basically I'm just saying it's an object such as a pencil moving from one desk to another, which just moves. It doesn't change size or shape, but it does change the orientation. Now, there are some transformations that do change size and shape, such as your pupil. Your pupil gets bigger and smaller depending on the light. And then something like the clock. The clock does a transformation also. So transformations in math terms is a change in position, shape, or size. And I'm going to say of a figure because in math we will be using figures on a coordinate plane. There's 4 types of transformations that we will be dealing with or learning over the course of this unit. That is translations or slides. So think of sliding down a sliding board. There's reflections or a mirror. So if you are in the bathroom or looking in a mirror, there's a reflection of yourself. There's the rotations, such as the clock. The clock rotates about the axes of the hands, and there's dilations. So dilations, such as your pupil over your eyes, like I had mentioned before, how they get bigger and smaller depending on the light. They are the 4 that we're going to be learning about. The first one that we're going to be learning about and what this video is translations or slides. However, before we get into any of that, we need to learn how to express it in math when we're dealing with a coordinate plane. So on your next piece of paper or in your notes, I want you to draw this coordinate plane, and you do not have to draw the grid lines. All you have to do is draw the y and x axes. Make sure you label those axes. That is very important in math. And then we are going to label each one of the quadrants. So you see here there's 4, the coordinate plane's broken up into 4 sections. The first section is labeled quadrant number 1. The second quadrant, or quadrant number 2, is to the left of quadrant 1. And that's something that we should take note of. So when we're dealing with a coordinate plane, we do go counterclockwise. Here is your third quadrant. And lastly, your fourth quadrant. Now, there are certain ways that we can label these quadrants so we know how to identify the objects that we are moving or transforming through the unit. So quadrant number 1, when we label them, your X and your Y point are both going to be positive. So it's going to look like this. It's going to be a positive X, positive Y. For quadrant number 2, from the origin we're going left, so that's going to be a negative X, but we're still going positive Y. So we'll be labeling that negative x, positive y. Your third quadrant is both negative x and negative y. And your fourth quadrant is positive x, negative y. So if you're given points and you see the point -3, +2, you should automatically know that that goes in quadrant 2 when you're looking at a quadrant plane. So it's very important that we know this. If you need more time to copy this down, please pause the video to make sure you have these in your notes. So a few terms we need to know before moving on in the unit are the 4 listed here: pre-image, image, A, and then A with a little apostrophe there. And again, if you need time, if I'm moving too fast, please pause as you copy these notes into your spiral. So a pre-image is just the image or the figure we start with. Figure we start with. So if you think of it, pre means before. So this is a figure we're using before we move it to wherever we're going to move it, whatever the directions tell us. The image is the transformation of the original figure or the pre-image. So it's the transformation well, let me start over. It's the final, the figure you get. Figure you get after the transformation. Of the pre-image. So pre-image is the image that we start off with, or the figure we start off with, and the image is the figure you get after you make the movements. Now, A and A with the apostrophe. So let's start with A. A or B, any letter that you use, and it can be capital, lowercase, it's how you identify your pre-image. So when you label your image, if you have a triangle or a square, each vertex or point in that pre-image is going to be labeled. So A, B, C, and D. And on those vertex, it'll be in one of your coordinate planes, and it will have a number associated with it. Okay? So this is just a label to identify the point. Let's make that a little bit better. To identify the point on the pre-image. Now, every point on your pre-image, as you see of the square like I did there, will have a letter associated. You cannot have more than one letter associated with the point. So you can't have 2 A's or 2 B's, because then it's kind of like the input and output. You can only have one associated. So when we transform or move or translate or rotate the figure, we need to have another way of identifying the image. And that's where this comes in, the A with the apostrophe. And we actually call that A prime. So when you see that little figure or that little apostrophe up at the top, we pronounce it with, we say the letter and then use the word prime afterwards. And that's a way to distinguish how to distinguish between the points. Okay, so A prime is used to identify the image. Identify the image. All right, again, if you need time, please press pause. So you were given a packet of paper, and what I want you to do, it's set up, you have four problems. You're going to walk through these problems. You're going to write down the original coordinates. So look here, A, you got point A right here. And remember, when we use our coordinates, we always do the X first and then the Y. So for this one, it's going to be a negative because we're going to the left of the origin. And it's going to be, so A is going to be -2, +3. So then in the directions, you can see up here, it says move points A, B, and C 2 units to the right. So you're just going to follow the directions for all the points, and you're going to move them or translate them the way that the directions tell you. So for this one, it's 2 units to the right. And then you're going to write down your new coordinates, and you're going to make observations of what you see and what you don't see. You're going to do this for the next 4, or for the next 2 pages,